Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Conversations Unplugged. Today is the final episode of the season. And as all of you know, I'm talking to Daisy Varun. She's been here for the last 7 episodes. Today is the 8th episode. And in this episode, we continue talking about confidence. We started talking about confidence last week, and we discussed the first 3 C's out of the 8 C's that Daisy has put together, a step-by-step process to increase your self-confidence, starting with first realizing what is stopping you from being confident and then moving forward. So if you have not watched the last episode, please go back, do that, and come back here again because it's a continuation. But for those of you who can't do that, I'm going to give a very quick recap of the first 3 C's that we discussed so that it is in continuation and you're able to follow the conversation that we're going to have now. So the first C that we spoke about was conditioning. Conditioning is all about the filters through which you are seeing the world. Conditioning is what you've learned growing up. Conditioning is the biases, the default patterns that we've created for ourselves and the lens through which we are seeing the world. And it applies to literally every area of your life. So as Daisy said last time, confidence is the result of living a lived experience, of accepting who we are, where we are. And when conditioning does not allow us to do that, that becomes the first hindering factor to confidence. So that was our first C, conditioning. What follows conditioning is conformity, where because we are conditioned a certain way, we think we have to behave a certain way, we conform to the rules of the society, rules of our culture, rules of wherever we are socially. So when we conform to all of those things, we are not able to stand up for who we are. We are putting up a facade. We are trying to be the good girl, the good wife, the good spouse, the good professional, the good friend. And behind all of these things, there is the real you, which is not able to stand out. So conformity is the second hindering factor, which stops you from being confident. Now, these are the 2 hindering factors. The third one is the transitioning factor, and it's the challenge. Now, this was a very, very important part of building up self-confidence because with challenge comes courage. And like Daisy said, challenge means that you're going to challenge the ways of the world, the rules of the world, and be open and bold to really ask yourself, what do I want and how do I want to show up? And when you challenge those things, there will be repercussions, there will be consequences, and we need to be okay with that. So challenge is about challenging with a lot of courage, and that's the transitioning factor. So conditioning, conformity, and challenge. These are the 3 C's that we discussed in our last episode. And now we're going to move to the next C, which is the 4th C, and there are 5 more C's. So stay with us as we discuss and go through a step-by-step process to discovering and understanding the remaining 5 C's. So welcome back, Daisy. Welcome again. And I'm so honored to have you and to dedicate this full season to you because your wisdom is so precious. And I'm sure all of us have learned a lot from just hearing you and your perspectives and the lens through which you see the world. So we're talking about confidence. And if you want to add anything to the recap that I just did, please do. And then share with us the 4th C of the 8th C.
First of all, I must tell you that I'm really, truly honored that you've dedicated an entire season of your podcast to me. Thank you once again. And yes, you recapped it very well. It is those 3 C's that form the background, the context, the foundation for either having that confidence that you aspire for or losing the confidence from, what you think your wholesome being is. So you start feeling that you're lesser than, what you internally, intuitively know yourself to be. But in the eyes of the world, you always fall short. So I think, yes, those 3 C's are very, very important in the beginning and they take a lot of work. It's easy to pen it down as 8 C's, but you start working on it and it takes quite a bit of effort.
Yes, absolutely. And we actually wrapped up our last episode inviting our audience to reflect on the filters, to sit with themselves, do some journaling. And like you mentioned, create some audio notes for yourself. If you're not comfortable writing, talk to a trusted person. It could be a therapist, it could be a friend, it could be a family member. But spend some time discovering and
Yes.
answering the questions for yourselves, because from there, then the journey can start. The journey can start towards being that reassured, self-confident person that you always want to show up as. So,
And I must also add that if you need help, you can get in touch with Deepa. She's a life coach.
yes,
If you would like to get in touch with me, or we can always recommend. We have a whole bunch of us coaches and life coaches and trainers and therapists that can help you do this.
yeah.
See business, the first to see business. We can really help you through that.
Yeah. And I would just like to add to that. Thank you, Daisy, for bringing that up. That it's okay to not be as confident as you want to be. I think
Yeah.
realizing that and being aware of that and acknowledging that and accepting that. I think that's the first step towards any kind of change that you want to bring in. And there's a lot
Yes.
of support available these days. So you
Yes.
don't need to suffer in silence. You don't need to be to feel bad or sorry about yourself of where you are. There's help available, and it can transform. And the simple ways of addressing these things, it doesn't need to complicate anything. So acknowledging, accepting, and then reaching out. I think
And
there are a lot
asking.
of resources available. Yeah, asking. Absolutely. Okay, so having set the
Perfect.
context, Daisy, what's the fourth C?
Yeah, it's choice. Now that you've challenged the world कि तुम्हारा ये गलत है, तुम्हारा ये गलत है, मुझे ये नहीं करना, मुझे ये नहीं करना, तो भाई सही क्या है, करना क्या है? You have to decide that now. So that's the bit where you talk about the choice. And for me, it is very easy to relate to all of this. I don't know how easy or difficult it is for you or for the listeners, but for me, you see, my mother made a choice. She just said, "मैं पाल लूंगी." That was said in a jest. But when my real biological mother came back, I mean, retorted and said, "देखो अब तुमने कह दिया है तुम पाल लोगी तो तुम पाल लेना, मेरे पास वापस मत लाना इस बच्ची को." And in that moment, my mom must have made that choice. Because अभी क्या, ये तो खेल खेल में एक बच्चा गोद में ले लिया, ये तो मुझे दे दिया है इसकी माँ ने, अब मैं इसका क्या करूंगी? So I think she was very strong in I have a very strong example in front of me. So for me, it is very easy to relate to this process and say, yeah, when you challenge the world, you have to make a choice. And because she chose to adopt me, I was just born. I mean, I can't even say I was an hour old or maybe an hour old, or maybe I can't even say I was a day old or a week old or a month old. I was just born and I was given away. And here is a lady who's not married, who's preparing for her civil services examination, and who has her whole life ahead of her. She has a whole career ahead of her. She has her dreams are just starting. She's all but 25 plus 26. Today, when I look back, my daughter is about 24 years of age. Add one more year to that, and I think my mother had decided to adopt me by then. मेरी बेटी को सुबह उठ के अपने हाथ से कॉफी बना के पीने को नहीं होता है. So the age and the level of maturity or understanding of the world or the wisdom around the world. But at that age, when she was just starting her life, she made such a big decision, and that was a choice that I am going to take. Now that this girl is being rejected so badly by her mother, I think I have said it. I said it that मुझे दे देना मैं पाल लूंगी, so I will stick by that. So just that choice requires even more courage than challenging, I suppose. So challenging is still okay. It can come in a moment of emotional upheaval. It can come in a moment of anger. It can come in a moment of any overwhelm can bring you to that point where you will challenge. But what after that? What do you do after that? Do you go back and conform to what you were thinking, being the world around was asking or demanding of you to be? Or do you now, after posing that challenge, do you really make a choice that aligns with what you want, or what you say, or what you want to do, or what you want to aspire for, or what you are already aspiring for? So it's not that you want to aspire for, you are already aspiring for being more confident. You realize that, okay, there is some things I'm falling short on my wholesome being. And if that is where you want to be more confident, you have to make that choice. There is no other way. And to make that choice will require a lot of conviction, a lot of courage, a lot of a lot of bravery will be required for that. So choosing is also not easy, because then you have to also foresee the consequences of that.
Yeah. Such an
And
important.
that's
Sorry, go ahead, finish it. Yeah.
And that's where one has to really be grounded while choosing, because if you choose impulsively without thinking what the consequences could be, you might regret it later. I shouldn't have done this. All of us have done that, including me. What I speak today might sound very wise to you and to a lot of people, but I have had my fair share of mistakes and blunders, and life changing, life altering blunders. But yeah, if you don't, and that's why I can say this with so much of conviction, that if you're not conscious while choosing, it'll make you regret it later. So you have to make very conscious choices, very calculated choices, very thoughtful choices, very measured, um, thought through. And also, you have to prepare yourself for which way it's going to go, because you don't know which way it's going to go. You are going to take your best decision at a particular time, but you never know how it is going to pan out. So you have to prepare. Once again, I go back to the a little note in my diary: hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. So I live my life from there. So I always do the worst and the best calculations, and then I say, now I have gone through a phase where I wasn't in that uh, calculative state, and I made mistakes. But now when I say that, okay, this is what I want to do, I make those choices. I make those, run those consequences in my mind, and then I'm prepared for it. So this is where you need सबसे ज्यादा ठहराव आपको इसी पे चाहिए. Impulsively किया तो गलत हो सकता है.
Yes, yes. And so two things are coming to me as I hear you say this. One is a common a common thought pattern that most people have, and they keep raising it again and again, saying, "But Deepa, I had no choice." That's something that we've heard so many times. And sometimes I have also felt that I didn't have a choice here. I just had to do what I did. Right. So that's the first thing that I would like to ask you in a minute. That how do you see this statement? And what do you say when people say I don't have choice? And the second important thing is, to everybody who's hearing us, we are not saying that you have to be spontaneous and choose something in the moment. We are saying be intelligent on the risks that you are taking. Be very conscious of what you're going to do, because you will have to live with the consequences of that decision. Nobody else is going to do that for you. And being prepared for the worst is one of the ways, because when you see the worst case scenario and you're okay with that, you are okay with from the best to anything that lies between the best and the worst. So two very important things. One, we will talk to Daisy about I don't have a choice. What do you do about that? And the second is be very calculative, conscious, intelligent when you make a choice, and not any rash decision, especially the big things that you're going to work on. So coming back to you, Daisy, I don't have a choice. That's such a common statement. What do you have to say to that?
What they are trying to say behind that statement is that I don't want to take ownership.
Ah.
So see, no choice, not exercising a choice is a choice. The world is so full of choices. There is no way that there is no choice. रसगुल्ला सामने रखा है, खाना है इज अ चॉइस, नहीं खाना है इज अ चॉइस. कोई आपका मुंह पकड़ के उसमें डाल ही दे, देयर आल्सो इज अ चॉइस दैट यू फाइट बैक द बेस्ट यू कैन. हाँ, कोई सिचुएशन ऐसी हो सकती है जहां पे आप इतने लाचार, इतने मजबूर हो गए कि आपके हाथ पैर बांध दिए गए, आपको बेहोश कर दिया गया, है ना. इफ यू आर नॉट कॉन्शियस, or you are physically too weak, or and then in those states, we can say that okay, I did not have a choice. But in a normal everyday सिनारियो वेयर, मतलब मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर आपका दिमाग ठीक से काम कर रहा है और आपके हाथ पैर ठीक से काम कर रहे हैं, योर फाइव सेंसेस आर वर्किंग फाइन एंड योर फिजिकल स्ट्रेंथ इज इनफ, यू आर नॉट ऑन अ गन पॉइंट, गले पे चाकू नहीं रखा है किसी ने. बट देन समटाइम्स आई थिंक ऑफ दैट आल्सो. सो गले पे अगर चाकू रखा भी है तो वो गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी, गुरु तेग बहादुर, मैं भूल रही हूँ किसका, जब औरंगजेब ने जिनको इस्लाम में कन्वर्ट करवाने के लिए उनके बच्चों को चुनवा दिया, उनकी गर्दन पे तलवार रखी, उनको प्रताड़नाएं दी, wasn't there still a choice? He could have converted to Islam, but he chose not to convert to Islam even if he had to give his life. So उनका conviction उस लेवल का था. बट हमारा कन्विक्शन ओनरशिप की बात है ना, ही टुक द ओनरशिप टू दैट लेवल कि अगर वो कन्वर्ट कर जाते तो वो पूरे गांव को, उस पूरे मतलब उनके पूरे राज्य में जितने भी लोग थे उनको सबको इस्लाम कन्वर्ट करना पड़ता. एंड imagine the ownership he took on behalf of so many people. So itni kahaniyan hai. If you want to understand choice and no choice, how truthful is it that there is no choice? But the question is, how strong is your conviction? How strong are you in a position of authority, ownership? And let alone that, how strong are you in a position to take ownership? He took ownership for his entire clan. You know, we are not ready to take ownership of our own selves, let alone a whole clan. So when people say we don't have a choice, Christ had a choice. Galileo had a choice. Uh, you know, yeah, he did exercise when he was told by the church that you retract your statement that the earth is round and is going around the sun. You say that earth is static and it is flat. He said, "आपके कहने से मैं कह दूंगा, but the truth won't change." You know, so he had a choice to say that हाँ मुझे छोड़ दो, मुझे बख्श दो, you know, the earth is flat and is static, but he said हाँ मैं कह दूंगा, अपनी जान बचाने के लिए मैं कह दूंगा, but the truth won't change. After me somebody will again come out and say the same thing. So when you look at all these examples, you know, then you really question yourself and you say, really, did I not have a choice, or did I choose something which required which was more comfortable? Did I have the courage to choose what was more difficult? It all will boil down to your courage and conviction. So choices are, when people say I have no choice, they're actually just simply saying that I don't want to take ownership of the consequences of this.
Yeah, I so resonate with that. And choices exist sometimes. If even if like I was, when you were talking about all of these beautiful examples, I was thinking of Viktor Frankl as well, right?
Yes.
The kind of experiences that he had, but how did he choose to not give in to those things? And he was led by a clear purpose and a vision and everything that helped him to survive. So
Yes.
he had the choice to think differently, to be differently in the most difficult circumstances that any one of us could, we can't even imagine. So sometimes,
Yes.
right?
Go
So
ahead. Some.
sometimes when the external situations are probably not aligning to your perfect scenario in our head, we do have a choice of how we want to show up in those very circumstances. Sometimes that's the best choice that you can make, irrespective of what's happening on the outside. Does that make sense? Yeah.
In fact, if you ask me, we are always making choices. There is not a moment when you are not choosing.
Absolutely.
Because choosing and deciding, they just go hand in hand, and you're taking decisions all the time. चाय अभी पीऊं, टाल दूं, थोड़ी देर बाद पीऊं, अच्छा मुझे पानी पी लेना चाहिए. Right now this is the time to have a sip of water. You know, so you're constantly choosing when to do, what to do, when to do, how to do. You're constantly in that process.
Yeah.
तो ऐसा कोई मोमेंट ही नहीं है जब आप चूज नहीं कर रहे हैं. लेकिन जहां स्टेक्स, when the stakes are higher, when the issue is bigger, when it is impacting you and a lot more than you. पानी पीना एक छोटा सा काम है. So you can, you know, choose whether you want to drink water now, whether you don't want to drink water now. You want to relieve yourself. कितनी बार होता है कि हम कहीं होते हैं and then there's a strong urge to go to the washroom, but we said no, let's hold on 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know. That also is a choice. Most of the times, for everyday things, like, you know, which just matter to you, pertain to you, it is not that difficult. But when it becomes larger than you, greater than you, bigger than you, the difficulty is so much more. And choosing is, I think there is not a moment when we are not choosing something. It is just how much of awareness and how much of criticality of the situation is that decides whether the choice is going to be easy or difficult. So I don't buy the phrase that I did not have a choice. You always have a choice. You're choosing all the time. How consciously you do that makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that gives a very, very good perspective that we always have a choice. It's about opening your eyes to what is available and what choices can you make. And if you keep repeating, I don't have a choice, that's going to be the lens with which you are seeing the world. And that could be a conditioning, going back to the first C also that we discussed. And you need to let go of that filter and take up this new statement that I always have a choice and I can choose to not take a decision, and that's fine as well. That's a choice that
And
you
that's
take.
a decision as well. That's a choice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so choice. What's the next one?
So, well, yes, you've made a choice. Now the world needs to know about it. What have
Yeah.
you chosen? So you want to break the old paradigms. You want to challenge the old norms. The world needs to know. So you need to communicate. You need to let people know. And you need to communicate not so much just by words, but by your conduct. You need to change. So communication, like we say, is words, tone, and body language. So it has to reflect through all three. And body language would also mean the conduct. So I choose to be more fit. Okay. All right. So from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock and I'm going to go walk every day for half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I say this to everybody in the house, but then tomorrow morning I'm still sleeping at 5 o'clock doesn't work, right? So when you communicate, you have to communicate it in all three: words, tone, and body language. So which means that my body language at 5 o'clock should be, I should be up and alive and alert and with my shoes on, with my track suit on, and I should be running out of the house. So if I'm not building it in my conduct, communication doesn't matter. And that's what happens in a lot of leadership that we issues that we see today. Leadership says a lot of things. So communication, fine, it should go to the last man standing, but their conduct doesn't match the communication. So communication and conduct, they go hand in hand. If you, what you communicate doesn't match your conduct, it's not proper communication. It's a farce, it's a facade, it's a lie. So that's what communication is. And a lot of people think that, just saying verbally is enough. No, saying verbally is not enough. So communicate in all three: words, tone, and body language.
Yeah. So what I'm
Which is
hearing
equal to
is,
conduct.
yeah, which is equal to conduct. And what I'm hearing is there has to be a consistency of
Yes.
the choice that you've taken and how you are demonstrating that choice in action.
Yes.
Right? It's
The,
not
the
just
moment we use
words.
the word conduct, consistency is a
Yeah,
part of it. The
part
moment
of.
we choose the word communicate, conduct is a part of it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
otherwise we'll have so many C's that this will never end. Consistency, conduct, etc. But when you say communication, everything else gets rounded by it.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic.
So yes,
Fantastic.
but very well said that conduct and consistency, consistency and conduct. If it is not consistent, it's not called a conduct, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a one-time, one-off behavior. But to call something a conduct, then you know that there's a certain conviction and consistency to it, and that should speak loud. Your conduct should speak. That's the communication, not just your words.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think if we are able to make the right choice and communicate, we are halfway through. Like we are already
Halfway
there,
through,
right?
we
And
are
we are
already there.
moving in the right direction at least. And we will see the confidence increase. We will see, because it's also about self-integrity, standing by what we are saying, by
Yes.
making the right kind of choices, being bold. So we will show up very differently if you are reaching this level of communicating the right way and, so being true to yourself, if I can say that. Okay.
We
Okay.
will show up very differently. That's beautifully said. And that's where your level of confidence will be seen by the others. The way you show up is how you are seen.
Yeah, yeah. So beautiful. I'm getting goosebumps as we're talking this because I can
Me too.
feel things change, I can feel it all over my hands, and there's so many things that are coming to my mind. But let's go to the next C. So what comes after communication?
So once you choose and you communicate to the world, and then you need to then build capability around it, right? So that's your capability is all about your competence, your skill, all of that. So if you choose to be a musician, so पापा वो 3:18 पे पापा ने कहा था मेरा बेटा इंजीनियर बनेगा, but the beta chooses to be a musician, and he tells his dad, पापा मेरे को तो musician बनना है, okay? But now what? Just because he loves to sing in the washroom, bathroom singer होने से तो musician नहीं बन जाएगा ना? He'll have to figure out what kind of a musician. Musician is a big word. Being a musician means the range lies from from playing n number of instruments to becoming a teacher, to becoming a composer, to becoming a music director, to becoming an organizer, orchestra organizer. There's a name for that also. I'm forgetting that, by the way. But so musician means what? And what skills do you need for that? So just choosing is not enough. You have to make sure that then you build on those skills. You want to be a musician, you want to be a photographer, you want to be a director. Everybody says, oh, we don't have enough women representation in the boardrooms. Okay. But just because, you talk diversity and you say, okay, equal opportunity should be given. And nowadays there's a new debate on equality and equity. So whichever language you put through it, the question is, have we developed the capability, the competence, the skills? Just because I'm a woman, I should be sitting in the boardroom doesn't work, no? I have to have a huge um, um, change of paradigm. I have to have a huge change of priorities. I have to have a huge understanding of, there's this certain acumen that, will take you to the boardroom. Certain competitiveness will take you to the boardroom. Certain conviction and decision making and risk taking is going to take you to the boardroom. But are you developing that, or are you just banking on the 33% reservation that so much women should be in the boardroom? So just akkar bakkar bombay bo eeny meeny miny mo, pick some women and put them in the boardroom. It is not going to work like that. So whether you talk about a child trying to choose for his what he wants to do, or we are trying to take bigger decisions as to what my career progression is going to be like, or something even as simple as I want to leave my job and start my own bakery. Okay, sure. A lot of success stories are there. A lot of people have done that. I want to leave my job and, experiment with my own entrepreneurship. Sure, be an entrepreneur. Startup India, Skill Up India. The policies are, supporting you. By all means, do that. But just because a loan is available, just because the licenses are available, just because the system is so much more easy, does that mean that you'll be a successful entrepreneur? So there has to be investment in capability building.
Yeah, I so relate to that because I started my journey as a coach and into this field of learning just 6 years back. I've always been a corporate leader working in corporates, and the mindset shift, everything. I literally had to start from scratch. Doing what I'm doing today, just talking to you over this podcast, was never in my dreams. I never could imagine myself. But over the last 6 years, slowly, I've built confidence to do this. And now I'm okay, being visible, being heard, being seen, and doing this. So I can so relate to this step of the 8 C's of building capability for
I'm so
where you
proud
see
of you.
yourself. Thank you. And I'm so proud of myself also because as I'm talking, I can see the difference of who I was before versus who I am now. Right? So and it's again the willingness, it's again, are you ready to go deep into it and experience the mistakes, the failures, the bad days as well, because not every day has been a good day, right?
True,
So
true.
absolutely, I relate. This is so important, and it's not just about saying I want to do this or do that, but it's about investing in yourself and putting in the all the resources, time,
All the resources.
energy,
Yes.
money. I think everything is needed from a building the capability perspective.
And
Fantastic.
that brings me to, I think I will take this opportunity to talk to a lot of young trainers
Uh,
who I meet many during networking meetings and all. And they always say, how are you so confident? How are you? I mean, I do get a lot of adulation, compliment, etc.
yeah.
from my fraternity. And I always, the younger trainers who think that just being able to speak will make you a trainer, is a qualification for being a good trainer. That's where they lose out, because or being a coach is a higher responsibility than being a trainer or a facilitator. So just because something is in vogue, something is readily available, you'll pay a certain amount and you'll get a certification, and from tomorrow you'll start saying, okay, I am this. It's a good start, it's a great investment, but it is not just that. So you have to know what all you need to develop. And there is another model for that as well, that, some other time, some other day, we'll talk about it. But capability building is not just a one-time effort. It's an everyday effort. It's an everyday effort. हर वो चीज जो आप सुनते हैं, समझते हैं, सीखते हैं, पढ़ते हैं, लिखते हैं, बोलते हैं, the amount of awareness and consciousness that you build into it, the stronger that becomes, and it speaks for you. And this helps the first C before that. The more you build one, the other gets built in. Because the more competent you become, the more capable you become, it shows in your conduct and it speaks for itself. So that's how they kind of go hand in hand. The more you build your capability, and the next C also is kind of tied to this. So these three C's, they go hand in hand almost. They just are like, the best buddies.
Okay, so let's hear the next scene.
Capacity. Capacity. Today you are comfortable speaking to one person over a podcast. Can you hold a panel discussion with 5 people? Capacity is scaling up. Capability is the skill. Capacity is the scope and scale. Okay. So I can train 20 people in a room. Can I address a 20,000 people in a stadium? I can cook for 4 people. Can I cook for 40? Can I cook for 400? I can create a tune on my guitar. But now can I make a whole, music composition and make sure, how the rest of the orchestra is going to play? When will the percussionist step in, and when will the flautist step in, and, all of that. So that's capacity. So that's what rounds up the middle of, this is the core of confidence, core of confidence. Communicate, build capability, and then work on your capacity, on scaling up. You've become an entrepreneur, you've registered your company, it takes less than $10,000 to register a company, fine. But the amount of business that you bring in, the amount of reach that you create, the kind of clients that you're able to reach out, the number of people that you're able to reach out to, that's your capacity.
Yeah. And I can sense the confidence like accelerating like this if we reach the capacity stage.
Yeah.
Because just when you say all of these things, the kind of inner resolution you need, the kind of inner confidence you need to be able to just speak in front of 200 people, 2,000 people, 20,000 people is immense, right? So it's like moving from one level to the next level.
Milestones.
Yeah, it's milestone, and I love communicate and then build the capability and then you scale.
Work on the capacity.
Yeah, work on the capacity. Okay, this is very interesting. And I'll come to a question which is coming to me, but let's hear the last C.
No, go ahead with the question, because it might just lose its context or relevance by then. So let's do this first.
So the question that was coming to me was, what does it take to move from capability to capacity? Because it's a shift. To me, it's a shift. We're building the competency. For example, right now I'm a solopreneur. I work with a certain net of people. I'm doing one podcast. So I'm working at a level. So what do you think in your, in your view, takes us from this capability to say the next level, which is capacity, the scale?
It's a loop. It's a loop. So you go back to choice. You say, I want to scale up. I choose to scale up. And now follow the same. Communicate in your conduct, build your capability. You will get to capacity. It's a loop. That's why I said it's like, this is the core. You can't get out of it. ये वो चक्रव्यूह है जो आपको जब बाहर निकालेगा ना तो विजयी बिल्कुल निकालेगा. और that's it. These 5 C's, you keep moving into these 5 C's. So when you say I'm a solopreneur, which means that today Deepa works as, or for me also, I choose not to scale up. It's a choice. I choose not to register a company. I choose not to own, create a company and then have its whatever legalities come through. It's a choice I've made. I want to be a solopreneur. But if you choose to scale up, then you have to again it's a choice. And now you have to say, okay, to scale up, what all things do I need to keep into account? So I need to have this support, I need to have that support, I need to have someone doing BD for me, someone taking care of
Yeah.
finances for me, someone taking care of, manpower for me. How do I create that network? So now the moment you start building that capability, you start working towards that. And the more you start working towards that, the more you're able to scale up, because the more resources you strengthen, the more your own belief system and mindset you work on. You're choosing, right? Constantly choosing. Okay, I need to think more, I need to do more, I need to be more, I need to invest more time. Like just a little while ago you said it, capability is where you need to invest everything.
Yeah.
Resource, time, money. Am I willing to do that? The more I'm able to do that, the more I'm able to scale up.
Right. सो वो कहते हैं ना, हर चीज घूम फिर के अपने ऊपर ही आ जाती है कि अगर आपको स्केल करना है.
कोई
सो
और तो करने वाला नहीं है.
वही तो. सो इट कम्स बैक
It's
टू
my life, I
ओनरशिप.
have to do
या.
it.
It comes back to ownership and the choice. And
Yeah.
what's also coming to me and what's occurring to me right now is, if we want to move from like a capability to a capacity and scale or do more of what we are doing, additional support in the form of a mentor or a coach or someone who's been there, done that, would be very, very useful. Because you know what I've also believed, Daisy, and what I've seen is the person that we are right now is what the results can, the results that we are seeing is a reflection of the person that we are. Like, if I want to shift my results and move to a next level, I really need to also grow as a person. I need to become a different person to be able to attract different kind of results, work at a different level. For example, if I want to hold a panel discussion with 5 people, my understanding of that topic, my reading of the people, understanding the 5 people in there, all of that needs to be done, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the question then is, am I ready to become someone larger than who I am right now? Am I okay with that?
So choose, once again, choose.
Choose. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It goes back to choice. Am I ready? Yes, I choose to be greater than me, greater than the current me. I choose to become bigger in my head, in my voice, in my conduct. I choose to become bigger.
And then it also goes back to the conditioning. What in my conditioning could be stopping me from becoming
Yeah.
the bigger me, right? So beautiful. So it's not like a linear step-by-step process. It is appearing to be a circle, and you can go back to whichever step aligns and wherever you need to be to move to the next level.
Logically, it is a step-by-step process, but at the same time, it's like a tango. You have to, you'll go forward, then you might have to just come back and take care of something. So when you're making a choice and you're trying to communicate, you never know, some old conditioning might trigger,
Yes.
and then you'll have to go back and work on it and, come up the ladder. So
Correct.
it's like the snake and ladder game. So you never know when you'll have to come back down and start from there. But eventually, 100 is where the goal is.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. All right. So what's our last C? This is going to take us there,
Oh, this is the height of confidence. This is the epitome of a confident person. The most confident person. इसके beyond confidence नहीं है. इसके beyond you won't see confidence. And this C is compassion. ये अपने आप develop होता है. ये कृपा है. Compassion is something that you're bestowed with. Not everybody can become compassionate. We can become sympathetic, empathetic, but compassion is a word which is greater than all of this. Very few compassionate people have happened in this world. Very few. And if you are able to build it to the level that, that compassion starts opening up in you, that then you will not even, then the word confidence will disappear for you. Then you will not have to bother about confidence, no confidence, because compassion is it's almost realizing yourself. And once you've realized yourself, going back to Viktor Frankl, going back to uh, Thich Nhat Hanh, going back to um, Vivekanand, So go back to, these people. Compassion is the ultimate level of confidence. उसके beyond confidence के लिए कोई ना तो बात करने की जरूरत रह जाती है, ना लड़ने की जरूरत रह जाती है. You reach that state and that's bliss. But that's the highest of it all. Not everybody will get there. It's like, the self-actualization bracket of Maslow's.
Mm.
It's almost that in this progression in your confidence. And Buddha, compassion
Yeah,
at a level, just you don't question Buddha's confidence, do you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, compassion, Christ. You don't question his confidence.
Mm.
So compassion is the last C in this progression. And if you get there, that's that's the ultimate aim of confidence. That's the ultimate aim. That's where you become bigger, greater. That's where you become one with, consciousness. That's where you become one with, um, it's a little philosophical, spiritual, but that's where, confidence ultimately should take you, should lead to. Your journey in building your confidence should eventually bestow you with this reward, with this award, with this honor of compassion.
So how does one feel in this stage, or how would anyone know that I am working towards that, or how would one start realizing that I am on that path to being compassionate or reaching that eighth C?
You will realize it. You don't need an external help on that sea, because all these seas are building to that. And the moment you touch that, something in you will open up. And that's why it's akin to enlightenment. Something in you will open up that will tell you that, you have arrived. You've come, you've become confident beyond the worldly measures. You've become confident. And it can be just anywhere, You don't need a checklist for this one. But this is the ultimate C. इसके beyond आप, ये C वो C है जहां पर you will start seeing people looking up to you. People will start following you. People will start listening to you. People will start paying attention to you.
Wow.
You will not have to go out and say, hey, listen to me. People will start listening to you.
So that energy level, that aura, that surrender also.
Yeah, whatever label we want to give it.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
of these things happen. Where you're not.
Everything, whatever in your
uh,
language, whatever fits in.
yeah.
But as a quality, it is something where, where you're not just you. Compassion is a much, much bigger word than what we understand in our worldly limited understanding of the word compassion. What happens most of the time is we think kindness is compassion. Yes, kindness is a part of being compassionate, but compassion in itself is a huge thing. It's a huge thing. So anytime I'm being kind towards somebody, I say, oh, how compassionate. Yes, I'm compassionate, but kindness is a small part of compassion. So that's why my love for words and etymology and what they mean and what they bring to the table. So for me, the word compassion, the way I understand it, and that's why I've put it in here, that once you're able to, if you're able to challenge the conditionings and conformities, if you're able to choose for yourself, if you're able to communicate it with your entire being, not just your words, but with your entire being, and you're able to work on building that capability for yourself, those skills for yourself, that competence for yourself, that will be true to your choice. Okay. And then you're able to do it consistently and scale it up. So if I'm working, so let's say I want to be fit. So how do I scale up in my fitness? So I go walk for a certain time. Then I scale up by building my physical strength. I maybe start getting into running, and then I work more on building my physical strength. And maybe I want to now do a half marathon, and then I want to do a full marathon, and then I want to be a triathlete. Who knows how
Yeah.
far am I going to take it? So this is the capacity. So how well can I build my physical capacity, my capability and capacity? And that, once you have done that, where do you go beyond that?
Yeah.
आप triathlete हो गए, now where? I'll give you an example. This is from a very old time. A man who ran 5 days continuously. उसका कुछ sleep, उसका जो support team था, they missed out on, setting his alarm, sleep and alarm or something. So he was supposed to sleep for 5 or 6 hours, but he woke, the alarm went off in the next 2 or 3 hours, and he woke up again and he started running. And once he realized that, I am able to run without sleeping, he ran through, he completed his marathon. It's from the 70s or 80s that this story comes in. I'm forgetting this man's name. Um, and once he ran through and got his prize money, he donated it to all 5 people who had reached the finish line. Now you know what I mean? Compassion opens up for you. In those days, $10,000 was a huge amount that he was getting for finishing that race in the given time. But he said, no, 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 distribute it. Everybody made it through. Everybody who made it through should be acknowledged. Everybody who put in that effort and stayed with their conviction, they made sure that sunshine or rain, physically however battered they were, they made sure गिरते पड़ते वो पहुंचे finish line तक, they deserve. So it's not just me. That now you know what I mean by compassion.
Yeah.
So you become greater than you. You're able to see more than you. You're able to, it's not just your achievement.
Yeah.
It's not just, it's something that opens up in you. It can't be taught. And compassion is huge.
I think it'll just change the way you are. It changes your being, so unless we experience it, it's very difficult to describe it, right?
Very difficult to describe. You brought in Viktor Frankl. Now there are so many stories in my head to show the whole thing. Okay, by the way, I love one of the movies by Roberto Benigni, Life is Beautiful.
Yeah.
And uh, constantly, every day, he's making a choice, that character, and it's based on a real story. And now I'm getting goosebumps, shivers actually down my spine. Auschwitz is the most difficult chapter of history for anybody to read through and accept. But when you hear stories that, okay, people risked their lives to save, and there is this old gentleman who was honored by 146 or 76 or some great number of people whom he had saved during Auschwitz. He smuggled children out from the camp. And then recently, I think you Google this, you'll get it. You'll get his name, you'll get his felicitation ceremony, everything. All those people in the auditorium were people, it was a full auditorium of people who were smuggled out by this gentleman. He is about some 90 years of age, sitting there on that, front sofa. 86 or 90 or something, somewhere in that. He's like really old, really, shaky, and really at the you can see how old this man is, and then he risked his life at that time to smuggle kids out of Auschwitz.
Wow.
Do you even want to discuss the word confidence in this story?
Yeah, my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a lady who smuggled kids out of different camps. She was a cleaning lady. And she would smuggle kids into her apron and get them out into her apron.
Again, choice, right? Yeah.
Do you want to talk confidence in this? So compassion is something that opens up in you. It awakens something in you which is not bothered about conditioning, conformity, choices, capability, capacity, or communication or anything. It is just something that brings out a different you. It changes your being.
Yes. And like you said, there's no checklist, there are no steps. It's just an experience, and
it's an experience.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love the last C, compassion, and examples of people. If we can just look at them, I think we'll understand what compassion means. Yeah. So they are real life examples, and there's so many examples. We just discussed a few right now. Yeah. Okay. So I think that was a very, very good discussion around the 8 C's. Before we come to the end of our conversation, I also want to ask you, Daisy, according to your experience and what you've seen, where do people get stuck mostly? Like, which is that 1 C where people just stop, or they're not able to move forward, or they're struggling in building their confidence out of these 8 C's?
Challenging, including themselves. So even if they make a choice, beyond a point, they are not able to challenge themselves. They say, "Arey yaar, nahi ho raha hai. Let me go back to my old ways." You know, it was better to conform. मम्मी ठीक कहती थी, तुम्हारे अंदर बिजनेस करने का अकल नहीं है. So instead of focusing on how to develop my acumen for business, I conformed to what my mom told me when I was a kid कि हमारे यहाँ घर में कोई बिजनेस नहीं करता, हम लोग सब सर्विस वाले लोग हैं, हमारे यहाँ वो acumen ही नहीं है, ये तो गुजरातियों मारवाड़ियों का काम है. You know, all of this. So if you talk about challenging, it is not just challenging the world, it's challenging yourself at every step and choosing for yourself at every step.
Yeah. I think, I completely resonate and I agree with what you're saying. It is so important to keep challenging one's own limitations, and
Yes.
because that's how we grow, and that's the whole purpose, right? To keep growing, to keep experimenting, to keep exploring, and to keep visiting that part of you that you've not seen before. And who knows what you will discover when you keep challenging yourself. It is very beautiful.
And every time you come out successful at the other end, imagine what it does to your confidence levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there is push and pull. It'll make you doubt. It'll make you feel weak. It'll make you feel um, immature at times. मैंने गलत फैसला ले लिया, उसका सुनना चाहिए था, उसका सुनना चाहिए था. बट ठीक है यार, अभी तो लिया है ना फैसला, तो चॉइस है, तो अभी उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस होंगे. एंड दैट्स व्हाई चॉइस टॉक्स अबाउट ऑल ऑफ इट टुगेदर, दैट चूज very wisely. Just because the whole world is getting into entrepreneurship, I'll also get into entrepreneurship. अरे भैया, सोच लो, think through, make a conscious choice, because you have to stick by it now.
And I think
you have to build it.
Sorry. Yeah.
You have to build it into your conduct, and then you have to scale up, and then you have to reach the highest success for yourself, because confidence is that ultimately you should be able to say that I achieved what I wanted. पापा जी तो चाहते थे 3:18 पे मेरा बेटा इंजीनियर बनेगा, बट तुमको तो फोटोग्राफर बनना था. 3 Idiots की यही कहानी है ना फरहान की. So once he becomes a wildlife photographer, his success is decided by him, na? I'm working with the best in the industry. I myself have grown up to be the best in the industry when it comes to wildlife photography. I may not have become the best engineer, but I'm the best here. उसके बाप के लिए वो, forget it. Yesterday I went to a wedding with my mother. So my mother is, like I said, retired by now. She was an IRAS officer. तो उनके बैचमेट की बेटी की शादी थी. Now everybody who had seen me when I was a kid, they were kind of telling me, हमने तुमको देखा था जब तुम छोटी सी थी types. So everybody was talking, and then my mother, even today, she's what, 73, 74 something, and I'm some 47 now. Even today when was talking to her batchmates last night, she said, अरे आजकल के बच्चे तो बस ये कुछ भी कर लेते हैं, and they think that they are doing great. हमारे जमाने में तो हम बहुत पढ़ते थे, और कितना मेहनत करके सिविल सर्विसेज क्रैक करके, और हम तब जाके हम लोग को सक्सेस मिलती थी. तो for her, success still is cracking civil services, UPSC. That is success. Other than that, whatever her daughter is doing, her granddaughter is doing, वो सब ऐसे ही एवं ही काम है. Granddaughter is a PR executive. हाँ, बच्चे आजकल कुछ ऐसे PR शेयर पता नहीं क्या काम करते हैं. So in her eyes, she still does not validate the career choices that we have made in our lives, because for her, none of her children went into UPSC, neither me nor my brother. We are both into L&D, and we are both doing well for ourselves, which is fine. I will define my success. So for me, I'm doing very successfully in my chosen field. For my daughter, she's doing very successfully being a PR. She did mass comm and journalism, and then initially she wanted to do political journalism. She got a taste of it in one of her internships, and then she chose to step out. She said, no, journalism, I don't want to do page 3. I don't want to do lifestyle. I don't want to do this. I wanted to do intelligent journalism, but there's a lot of politics in intelligent journalism, and I choose to be out of it. So what do I want to do? I want to do PR. It's a choice. Now she has to build that capability. She has to now, again, the same thing. But coming back from my mother, she पता नहीं क्या करती है, उनकी granddaughter तो पता नहीं कुछ PR VR करती है, you know. So this is where the whole thing lies, that when you're choosing, how much of the constant backlash will be there, the negation will be there, the non-validation will be there, the rejection will be there, and you will still have to challenge that and choose for yourself and build it into your conduct. And you have to stay at it, dude. And that's the attitude, I'm going to be at it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And in the process of doing that, it's also about prioritization. So in this case, if I want to prioritize pleasing my mom or my dad, and then I'm going to be constantly conforming to their thoughts and their ideas and their beliefs. So just being okay to not conform, but still have a good relationship. I don't think we have to please anyone to have a good, healthy relationship, and it could be any relationship. So it's about rewiring your own thought processes and being okay to unsettle, to create a little bit of turbulence in your life and others' life, and see who is up to it. And so absolutely, I think challenging
it's a
is
roller
the one.
coaster journey, but yes, in the end, it'll bring out. Even today, you meet my daughter. Very few of you have perhaps known her, met her, or spoken with her, but she comes across as a very confident girl for her age. She stands out in her peer group, no doubt about it. Her confidence speaks for itself, so much so that people get insecure. Her bosses get insecure, her peers get insecure, because she really stands out. She really stands out.
Yeah, we would love to. Actually, I would love to talk to your daughter someday, and also your mom someday. It would be a nice thing to have three of you together on one screen.
Oh my God.
And it'll be
You
nice.
will see a whole family feud then. Family drama.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how that confidence has flowed into you, and then you are passing it on and giving that flexibility to your daughter to just be who she is and not necessarily conform to the framework or the guidelines or what we think a successful life means, right? So that's brilliant. So thank you so much, Daisy. I think we've extended our episode and did a couple of episodes today, but that was fine. I think we were talking some very, very interesting stuff. I had a goosebumps and a couple of times during our entire our discussion. And real meaningful talk. So thank you so much for being here, creating time, coming back again and again every week and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deepa. Thank you so much. I have been on many people's podcasts. It all started during the lockdown. And I think this is the first time I have had such an extended conversation on so many things. And each conversation has been so enriching for my own self. When I go back and I listen to these podcasts, and when I listen to the way you facilitate the whole conversation, I learn a lot from you. The way you ask questions, the way you sum up, the way you join the dots, the way you make this conversation flow has been a great learning experience for me too. So thank you once again for dedicating a whole season to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was my privilege, and I've learned so much from our discussions, and they were always very interesting. Like I said, Conversations Unplugged, we never scripted any conversation. We just knew what we were going to talk about from a topic perspective, and it just flowed. So, yeah, I enjoyed, I relished, and I'm going to get you back with your daughter and your mom, in one of the upcoming seasons. But thank you so much, everyone, for being with us, for joining us, for listening to us, for giving us your feedback. And if you want to hear Daisy again on some topic, just come back, mention your comment, and I will make it happen. So thank you so much, Daisy, once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.